People love the movie. People love the video game. So combine them, they say. Then have a ragtag unit of Elmer's glue eaters like Blast Entertainment be the ones delivering them to stores so they can give us a video game about Charlotte's Web. Do we need this? Did we want this? Apparently, Blast believed we did. Now, considering this is a game from Blast Entertainment and it's Charlotte's Web, expectations couldn't be higher. With all the rich narratives splattered about by the film, surely the game will be able to rock our world no problem. We begin our journey by reading inner monologue of Wilbur, stuck on a background that surely took a hearty handful of minutes to create, helping us understand why we are careening down a pathway of grass, stuck inside of our pram, doing our best to keep balance, avoiding stones, grabbing golden apples, and accruing points. It's ancient hieroglyphic excitement sent from the Black Land that leads us straight into a barn with the most dopey-eyed camera you could possibly imagine. Only in the Blastverse are we able to witness moving around the inside of fencing the size of a pizza box being an impossibility. My goal here was to search for a hole in a fence that might actually be the hardest hole to locate in the entirety of gaming's lexicon. But I did accomplish it. Wilbur will never be stopped, not even by the glorified zombies waltzing around this farm that are supposedly chasing me down. I'm not really seeing it. I was expecting a group of farm boy Brock Lesnar's chasing after me, wanting to use my leathery skin to piece together a will sandwich, not ones practicing their rotoscoping for food fight. I'd love to know if we just forgot to implement brains for these buffoons or what. Maybe I ran into these guys on the Noggin's day off. Who knows with these people? Whenever you turn a game on, getting a glance at this obese-toothed bomb with a half-assed smile, you know the utmost quality will be knuckled in. Like, when it's taken no more than 10 minutes to run into a recycled level in a game that has a total of 30-40 minutes for a full playthrough, that's how you know the people making said title truly care. The ounces of sodium from sweat droplets can be tasted with each and every step you take in this farmland all these years later, presumably being the reason we move at such a slow pace. They wanted the player to indulge themselves into the blood, sweat, and tears stuck onto this web. Sadly for them, though, I can double speed myself while I was searching for items to give to other animals that are punished to exist within the confines of this grainy dungeon that makes the meat grinder look as if it's going to be the most acclaimed moment in their family's lineage. Upon completing this purchasable test of patience as Wilbur, you do eventually have a run-in with Charlotte A. Kavaktica, letting you play as her. To some, this is probably the highlight of the whole thing. Her name is in the title after all, but they unfortunately tossed her segments into the spin cycle alongside the pit-stained wife-beaters by creating a whole new, never-before-seen environment of using an undiscovered hide-a-tribe methodology to make the control scheme for a game that has you simply move up, down, left, and right, borderline unplayable. It's truly astounding viewing movements so basic, playing out in such a grimy fashion. You move beyond slow, and the Tarzan slinging has you question if this bitch is even shooting out a web. I always thought webs were supposed to be, you know, silky and sticky, unless Charlotte is an arachnid phenom attaining the forbidden tome from Dexter's lab to make her shoot clay out of her hoo-ha. I don't know. I would just love to be informed of how you make something so primitive practically unplayable. Stacking on to the many rapid-fire questions anyone would be frying up in their head while playing this, like, why did the farmland of camouflaged quicksand make its third appearance to repeat running around grabbing items again? Did the team believe this was fun? Realistically, you could jingle keys in a person's face and the same enjoyment would be extracted. Another smoldering question would be, why are we ooh-ooh-ah-ahing with the PlayStation 2's face buttons escaping from an ostrich egg inside of a rat tunnel? Is this stuff a 4D chess play that went over the consumer's head? You make us play as farm animals and have the player themselves feel like cattle? I guess the design philosopher's trademark have struck again. And believe me, as As much as I wanted to continue on my adventure with Wilbur, Charlotte, and friends, redoing the same exact minigames as they're called with slightly different rules, continuously searing up this unparalleled entertainment, I decided I'm good. There's plenty of other movie titles that deserve to have multiple rows of teeth sunk into them, like Dr. Dolittle. I have no idea what this movie is. The cover art has a rabbit, a dog, and a bird on the front. A very strange collection of creatures to have an orgy with, but I'm ready for it. Blast decided to give us 8 whole levels that don't need to be unlocked. I presume they knew nobody would willingly want to grind through the whole fiesta they created, and decided to dish out freebies for the world to enjoy. I chose to start from level 1, letting me meet the animals scattered throughout a child's playset, having a fantastic isometric angle, and even keeping the logo of the game in the corner in case you forgot what this was supposed to be. Hello, Dr. Dolittle. My name is Lucky. I am a dog. Wow, I would have never known. Hello, Dr. Dolittle. My name is Ming. I am a tiger. Is this guy a reincarnation of Helen Keller, or the universe's most marvelous neckbeard to where he never leaves the house or has never seen the outside world? Why does he need to be told what these animals are? But keeping on the topic of animals, the zoo escapees who created Dr. Dolittle, the video game, pulled off one of their EX attacks by creating one singular level for the entire game. This one city is the only environmental visual. They couldn't even do something as simple as creating a basic unique background for the mixing minigame. In level 3, you're required to make drugs essentially, and what you do is you load into the city, press the pause button, where you then stick the gas into your meth lab's tank, concocting a variety of substances to win. Afterwards, in level 4, you start dishing out those said medications to help each animal stop suffering from whatever it is they are suffering from. I just can't stop sneezing. Have you something I can take to make it stop? And what happens upon completing the European Pablo Escobar questline? Why, of course, you continue on doing the DLCs of repeating the same exact objective on the same level, with the only difference being the amount of animals you need to interact with. Then guess what? You do it again, until you reach the end of the game, where you do it again. Out of the 8 levels you play on, 5 of them have you walk around dishing out medications on the same city layout. This is easily one of the laziest video games of all time, even for Blast Entertainment standards. One level design, and more than half the game has you repeat one objective. How could you sleep at night knowing you sold this to people? I never thought all those years ago when I was watching Eddie pull off ruse after ruse to the local children, I was actually watching a documentary. The folks at Blast really never disappoint. But it's not going to do the movie gaming genre justice by only sticking with a company whose talent was finding a way to create a PS2 disc out of paper mache and dirty grease from a McDonald's fryer. So I decided to leave the catacombs and look at Fifth Element, the video game. A unique variation of a diamond I have heard a lot about over the years, and it's claimed to be one of the worst games of all time, which I highly doubt is the case, let's be real. If you're talking Crow City of Angels or Perfect Weapon, you might have a claim to fame there. Anything outside of that specific 130-pound, sopping wet, roach-riddled goop will never be in consideration for the coronation. That, of course, doesn't mean Fifth Element doesn't deserve the stigma it has, because it absolutely does. The realization of how not so great Fifth Element is comes incredibly quickly once the player enters the first room, entering a battle against a few Stay Puft fanatics who gun you down in a matter of seconds while you're trying to determine whether your shots are dealing damage or not. Thankfully, when you die, you respawn a short ways back. A true blessing for me. I don't think I've ever had Jet Puff wash my floors as much as these ones did. All the years of roasting s'mores, now I get to live between the grams. You can be walking down a hallway and these guys will already have their laser targeted eagle vision activated, blasting away at you before you're even able to see them, making the starting level a bit of a challenge. But no matter what these punk-ass sprinkle troopers tried, it wasn't enough to prevent my new favorite traffic cone tank top Sigma male from grabbing his key and finishing the level, allowing me to see cutscenes from the movie. I've never seen it, but it's nice to see they stuck Carrot Top inside of a tube for one of the scenes. This being the character you play as in level 2, trying to escape from the police that are the most imposing figures this city has ever seen. From what I'm gathering, you aren't supposed to fight them, which is a play that's easier said than done. Each cop seems to have nanobots coursing through their veins, taking like 500 hits to die, also blocking every pathway you attempt going down, making it almost impossible to scurry away. And considering how Fifth Element has this Skittle sticky residue lock-on system when it comes to the fighting as well, trying to traverse through this level was disgusting. I hated every second of this level. Fighting enemies was completely unreasonable unless I found a few pocket rockets to let loose when need be. The moment I discovered the traffic cone sitting in his cell was a true blessing since I was finally able to play as him again. Both of the playable characters seem to have the idea of giving the gamer some variety as they play. Carrot Top essentially only does hand-to-hand combat that is teetering on being dysfunctional, so it's not a riveting time playing as her, while Traffic Cone uses his pistol or other weapons you find during the level. So the audacity of Fifth Element asking me if I wanted to use the soggy carrot again was truly sickening. But I guess it didn't matter which choice I made because the game was already prepared to punish me either way. When this level started, I went back to having shootouts with bandits who resided on rooftops amongst whatever else the game hurled in my direction. Every item was being collected, secrets were found, the Grim Reaper was fed. Then I reached a room at the end telling me I needed a box of matches to light this area on fire, an item I did not uncover throughout the 15-minute raid. It was a perplexing moment. I sleuthed and sniffed each section of this level. I was stuck to where I needed to look up a guide, and apparently I made the absolute monkey Progresso with Chunks soup-brained move of not pressing on this easily overlooked black monitor that has no way of you knowing you are required to press on it to get an item you need to finish the level. What a mistake I made. It was a mess up that was worth a double punishment. Once I annihilated this level, I was forced to replay it again, just slightly differently with Carrot Top, where her levels are nothing short of miserable. It's not an exaggeration at all. No joke, if you only played as Corbin, that's Traffic Cone's real name, Fifth Element would honestly be a mediocre at best 3D PS1 tank-controlled raw meat burrito, having you run around lacing up locals with the strap, occasionally dealing with cryptic nonsense. It would be manageable, but when you fold in a character that might as well not exist, who lives out the life of a Ghostbuster, pulling off hand-to-hand combat combos with her feet and fists going straight through her opponents, it makes me not care how many elements there are. You could double it, make it 15 elements, make it the Sonic.exe 666 elements. I don't want them. What fun can be extracted from segments where you are deliberately trying to avoid everyone thanks to the fighting being a chore with zero allowance being accrued? Who in their right mind wants to work for free? This is the kind of stuff that sends people into a deep shaman mentality, wishing they were a heroic figure of some kind to put the people who attempt making moves such as this in their place. They'll sit crisscross applesauce in a bathtub, praying for the water to become mud to re-rise as Shrek, the green machine who has more games than I ever imagined, obviously having a few standouts like Shrek, Ogres, and Dronkies. This cartridge opens up with us listening to Shrek and Fiona speaking in their gurgly microwave speech pattern, monologuing on how they need to leave for the Royal Kingdom, and it's our duty to take care of baby ogres and donkey dragon hybrids. I'm assuming they wanted to try dipping their toes into the Nintendogs balance patch, adding that to the Shrekverse. You can get various toys to toss them around our Woodland Section 8 shack, watching watching deformed cave children lumber about, or even give them the most unenthusiastic bath anyone could ever have. Could you at least show some emotion? Maybe try lifting something while I scrub you with a honeycomb? I seriously wonder how the development team felt while making this. Surely it was just dumped onto their laps, forced to be made against their will, cause why would anyone want to unironically sit here babysitting Shrek's family, dragging and dropping items, periodically dipping into a store to spend a few rupees on a new block or doll? The only goal, we'll call it, that was implemented into this game is you getting points by watching the children play with toys or eating food to inevitably unlock a new change of scenery where you do the exact same thing. It's not the most captivating experience, which is why I decided to do my own esoteric parenting style. When Ogre Jr. shit himself, I just left it there to ferment into his skin. Ogres do rot in their own filth, brushing their damn teeth with caterpillar gunk. I'm just helping them get ready for the future. Eventually, the poop started making its way on the floor, and Ogre Jr. even laid in it at one point, which is fine by me. Once it starts piling up, we'll create a wall to keep predators away. Shrek doesn't need to come home, honestly. He can spend his time with Fiona, staying away from my sacred temple, and go create one of his legendary gaming escapades in the wilderness, having a good old Shrek treasure hunt. If he is going to do that, all I can say for his sake is I hope that treasure hunt is not as laggy as this. Did I install a crypto miner? What is causing Shrek to chug to this degree? All I wanted to do was run around grabbing pieces of cheese so I could unlock a minigame that was obviously nothing short of entertainment. I was tasked to collect the 3 blind mice by pressing a 4-button combination of the face buttons on my controller, with my reward being to watch Shrek create a squiggly line out of a caterpillar. If Ogre Jr. did this, I'd let it slide, but what the fuck are we doing, Shrek? You're a grown-ass man, and this is the best you could come up with? A sentiment that is shared with the entirety of Shrek Treasure Hunt, actually. The claimed treasure hunt we're on consists of us walking around an overworld, collecting items that are not hidden, they're lounging around for anyone to grab, kinda defeating the whole idea of a treasure hunt. However, they do thankfully reward you with even more of this. Other mini games that are nowhere close to stimulating your dopamine receptors. They have the entertainment value of getting curb stomped, lasting under a minute each, typically resulting in you pressing 1 or 2 buttons during gameplay, like having you throw tomatoes at knights spinning around the insides of a cardboard castle diorama, or catching bugs. So it begs the question of why the loading screens for these electronic banquet meals take such a ridiculous amount of time to transpire. What is it loading? Is Shrek's pencil-drawn face and watercolor-painted woodland brush really forcing the PlayStation to push steam out of itself, ascending into overdrive? It's not worth the wait. If I didn't have the pleasure of living through Dr. Dolittle, I would say Shrek's Treasure Hunt deserves to be in contention for one of the laziest games you could ever play. All you're doing is walking around flat grounds, grabbing items with a carrot on a stick that has mold and a debilitating disease's bacteria all over it. The treasure hunt is truly a spectacle of disgust. Of course, I'm not the aficionado when it comes to Shrek and his gaming adventures, but there's no way there's one below Treasure Hunt in his library. I genuinely wasn't expecting to find goop that is stickier than ogres and drunkies. I thought that was going to be Shrek's toe wart, but it's not. It's a shame to see such a great superhero be shafted to this degree. The treasure hunt virus of O2, or THV, was surely a struggle for a lot of people out there. The only comparable illness would probably be 1995's widespread indisposition that Batman Forever brought onto society. It was ooze that started making its way into your system while you were deciding if you temporarily wanted to live life as Batman or Robin. My choice was going with Robert as the Venom activate its move to then immediately recognize the familiar combat loop I was taking part in. The renowned Mortal Kombat fighting system was transmogged into Batman, as with the whole digitized actors thing. It's an interesting spin to put on the formula that I was curious to see how it would unfold as I swam through the swamp, but the third screen decided to halt all of that momentum. Upon rinsing all of the enemies contained in this room, I was left with nowhere to go, and I had no idea what I was expected to do, so naturally, I channeled my inner Philip from the darkest side of my heart, spamming all the buttons on my controller in a fit of rage, where I discovered that the select button of all things activates a grappling hook. That's also incredibly specific with how you activate it. You need to press the select button shortly before you press up. It's very odd, but it is a mystical beast you must tame as you continue to traverse the dark lands of Batman Forever that I'm sitting here comparing in my mind to one of the other S-tier barn burner games this goofball has under his belt buckle, Batman Return of the Joker, what I'd say is one of the worst beat-em-up games you could ever play. In that one, you're watching amphetamine Batman clobber 2 or 3 enemies per room after he injected pure sugarcane into his eyeballs, moving and attacking at incredible speeds in RNG rumbles. Compared to that, I do believe Batman Forever is a better game. Obviously, it's not a high bar to cross. All Batman Forever needed to do was lay down, sneeze on the floor to have the air propel it above said bar. The combat in this game is very strange to accustom your mind to. You feel like you're supposed to be pulling off attacks with Mortal Kombat fluidity and power, but that's simply not the case. The roundhouse kicks and sweeps don't have that Airhead commercial head explosion feel you expect them to, forcing you to primarily spam one attack on every enemy that steps up to the plate. A majority of my playtime was watching Robert flail his arms back and forth, hitting opponents with the most flaccid, lifeless attacks that could be mustered by someone of his caliber. Although, even when considering this elderly, low testosterone bust-powered combat, the one positive I can say is I'm glad the enemies are not reading my inputs, finding any way they can to fold Robert into a pretzel during fights. These escaped convicts, or whoever I'm battling, exist purely to be a punching bag, taking way more hits than they should to become one with the floor. Death only melts its way onto the bread over time due to health pickups in this game being incredibly scarce. Other than that, it's just a soulless whackathon. How or why the biggest part of your game has the life force of Adam and Eve from billions of years ago is something that needs to be put under a microscope, surely. What's funny though is that the combat isn't even the worst part of Batman Forever. I touched on it earlier with the grappling hook having an odd activation prompt, but it goes deeper than that. There are rooms littered throughout this game that expect you to know you're supposed to go to a lower floor or rappel upwards, with nothing giving the player the idea they can. You couldn't draw a line, make it off-colored, or maybe show a hook. The amount of time you need to spend going through each room, step by step, shooting your spider web upwards or teabagging the floor is actually staggering, and that's assuming it works. There are the occasional areas you stumble into that you know you can interact with, but it's so specific where you press the button, you might end up assuming you aren't able to interact with said area. It seriously makes the game unplayable at times, and you may get stuck not knowing what to do or how to progress. It's fine though. They already got your money, so Master Brioni can sit there chuckling at your misery. Then last but not least, to top the cake off, they decided to have Batman Forever be one of those games where when you lose all your lives, that's it, game over, kick rocks, eat a dark brown banana, whack a beehive with your bare hands, no password type of game. What a way to live up to the Mortal Kombat engine, I guess. That's the only part of this game that isn't too shocking. Mortal Kombat was ripping through neighborhoods, creating an obsessive mentality towards it each and every day, so companies wanting to stylize games similarly to it or downright copy it was bound to happen. That's kinda what Street Fighter did. During their cavemen discovering fire moment of making a movie about Street Fighter. They proceeded to make a game about that movie. It's a very odd vortex of hootenanny. The logic is beyond perplexing. Street Fighter, the movie, the game, is in the same vein as Mortal Kombat, with the digitized actors having that whole vacuum attached to your wallet technique we've all come to know and love when it pertains to 90s fighting games. It's not okay for companies to scam people now, but this shit, AI reading your inputs, cheating in some cases to create the epitome of a miserable experience that makes the games age like a home containing 15 hoarders all combining their power together, is perfectly okay. The end goal for both is greed, but the goalpost is moved for back then only. Fucking logic. Money is precious. It's the object that makes this world go round. And more importantly, it could buy you Hannah Montana the video game for $59.99 back in 2009. An absolute steal, if I say so myself. Who in their right mind wouldn't want to drop that on a disc that is essentially just a rhythm game? To its credit though, they did stick a borderline unreasonable amount of button combinations you need to remember if you're that keen on 5-starring these segments. The tutorial is almost 10 minutes long, showing you how to perform them all, with a few of them highlighting a big problem I have with the PS3. There are certain games that cannot be played in their entirety without a first-party controller due to the movement technology Sony decided to stick in these things, where you need to have muscle spasms, rocking the controller forwards, or whichever direction the game wants you to shake it in. Hannah Montana is one of those said games, to my dismay, so it's not possible for me to 5-star these concerts. As much as I'd love to lasso my controller around by the wire preparing myself for liftoff, I unfortunately couldn't. It didn't stop me from winning, of course. The only thing I'm really missing out on is having the ability to Scrooge McDuck myself, backstroking through mounds of points, pimping out my tour bus, or purchasing a new chain for Big H, which is the other portion of Hannah Montana, the movie, the game. We are able to witness the supreme attempt of making Hannah come off as human. We get to see her interact with her family and do chores. Yes, because the families that have enough money to purchase multiple mercs to launch them into a wall and use the melted scraps as a blunt wrap on a regular basis totally wouldn't hire another person who gets paid minimum wage to stroke the horses off. The only realistic moment of all this, aside from the family interaction, would be the horseback riding that, again, I was not able to swallow in its entirety. We need to do the gimmicky horse hawk of turning the controller as if it's a steering wheel, or flail it upwards to jump. Is there a reason we couldn't just press a button to do this? We do have an analog stick and even a D-pad that could let us turn. Was Sony going to detonate a chemical bomb in the studio if you didn't utilize their groundbreaking gaming engagement move? I don't know. I guess it doesn't matter. You're not missing out on next generation levels of fun by not experiencing the horse jumping yourself anyways. Most, if not all, of your objectives are walking from point A to point B to talk to someone or pick up an object, tickle teasing you minute by minute until you're able to rock out again. It's a quite lazy game overall, and I'm just assuming the overlords must have not cared that much about this thing, a statement that summarizes almost every movie video game. Shovel up that bare bones budget, hand it to a studio without any rhyme or reason, and call it a day, right? It's depressing that finding a movie-based game that is worth the money spent on it is a serious challenge. For every 25 Dr. Dolittles, you'll get one Riddick Escape from Butcher Bay. I've always wondered how well these sorts of games do financially. I find it hard to believe they found an infinite money glitch with these things, so they must have the mentality that society is filled with people who eat corn the long way, or they just feel like hoodwinking parents. As always, leave your thoughts and opinions for these games down in the comments below, like if you believe Batman Forever needs to be remastered, or maybe you see Charlotte's Web as a hidden gem on the PlayStation 2. Let me know. Big ups to all of our channel members who go above and beyond each and every month, generously supporting the channel even further. If you would like to join them, be sure to hit the join button right next to the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, take very good care of yourselves, and I hope to see you all again in the next video.